Everything feels impossible until it's done. Today's guest knows what those words mean in a way very few people ever will. In October of 2024, this entrepreneur and author unfortunately was hit by a car and left in a coma with just a 1% chance of survival. However, he survived. We learned how to walk, rebuilt his life, and transformed that experience into a mission. Today, he is the founder of Until It's Done, a movement built around mindset, health, lifestyle, action, structure, and clarity. And that story is coming up next in our I Survive series. Is something standing between you and your happiness? It was for me. I had to face my depression and the constant negative self-talk. Therapy helped me realize I deserve to be happy. That's why this podcast is called I Choose Health, because I made the choice to heal and I want to share that with you. As a gift to you, we've partnered with BetterHelp as our sponsor to help you start your own healing journey. We all face moments when life feels overwhelming, whether it's stress, anxiety, or just feeling stuck. Talking to someone can make a real difference. And that's where our sponsor BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp offers professional online therapy that's convenient, affordable, and entirely on your schedule. You can connect with a licensed therapist by video, phone, or even chat, whatever works best for you. Let our sponsor BetterHelp support you on your journey to better mental health. You can get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth. That's betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth for 10% off your first month. Take the first step toward feeling better today.
As a teenager, I decided to live better, so I gave up the meat, eggs, and cheddar. At 20 and 30, I wanted more, so I strengthened my mind and my core. Living a life that is healthier and wealthier because I choose health.
Today we have with us Vincent Van Den Broeck. So Vincent, welcome to the I Choose Health podcast.
Thank you for having me. First of all, that intro was good. For real. I should keep that one. Now, thank you for having me. It's an honor. It's an honor.
It's amazing, and your story is amazing. I think that your story is definitely one of resilience, one that teaches people to never give up and to keep going. And I want you, Vincent, to take me back to that day on October 10th of 2024. What do you remember about that day that completely changed the trajectory of your life?
The most important thing I do not remember. I remember in the morning going for breakfast with my wife, who was abroad for, I think, the 3 weeks before. So this was and we did very, very few things together back then because life, because work. And so it was kind of special. And then I asked her to join me on the catering event we were doing that evening with the business, just to have some time together, which we then did. And then I left the catering events to finish an important business file that I had to send over to our lawyers. Said goodbye. And then probably the most exciting thing happened in my entire life. So on my way to the Hoxton, which is a hotel which I've been doing and still do administration for the business. And in front of that hotel, I got hit by a car. So no memories of that. Flew on the front window roof, and then the person that found me 11 meters further than the car. Wasn't wearing any helmet. Fell on my skull immediately. Skull broke open. Was suffocating on the spot. And then the person that found me asked the paramedics when they left the scene, "Is this person? Is he gonna survive?" They looked back and they were like, "No." So yeah, October 11th. At least a cool story to tell.
Yeah. Now, Vincent, you were given a 1% chance of survival. When did you eventually learn how serious your condition had been? And what was it like hearing that number? Like, how did it impact your will to survive and your will to fight through that moment?
The 1% was actually surviving in the way that I did. So surviving everything I went through was like a 1 out of 10, and then surviving without any major damages was 1 out of 10 of that 1 out of, so 1%. I only learned that, and I guess that's also what helped me months after the accident. So after the coma, with my last surgery in with December 2024, where they put the processes. So this part of my skull is right now processed. They had to take it away due to pressure due to the accident, which is standard surgery. And then when the pressure is gone, they put the skull back. But because of the accident, the skull was too damaged. So there's a company in again crazy. How things go in the medical world. So there's a company in Finland which 3D prints skulls, and my surgeon then order tailor-made, custom-made processes. And there was a communication problem between the hospital and the company in Finland. So it took them 2 months for the skull and for the process to arrive in Belgium, and got put back. And it's 19 December 19. And it's then that my surgeon told me about the percentages. So but I was delusional about it. And there's another funny story. So when after me waking up after the coma in that first week, I was supposed to call my best friend who was back then living in New York on the day of the accident. And in that first week, after me waking up, my wife calls him on FaceTime. And in that call, I completely forgot about the story. He reminded of me months later. I told him, "Oh, bro, sorry I didn't call you back, but I was a bit busy," thinking there were only days that passed instead of 3 weeks. So I was completely delusional about everything that happened. Didn't really realize how bad it was. Of course, rationally, because I couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't even open a bottle. My wife had to put on clothes. So of course, rationally, I know that it wasn't good. It wasn't good. But how serious it was, the brain trauma and all that, never actually, until later.
So when did like reality set in, right? Because I know that you go through that situation, and then obviously there's a point where you're saying, okay, my old life is gone. Now I have to rebuild from here, right? So, what was your foundational thinking in terms of how am I going to build from here and try to get out of the situation or to, rebuild better than before? So what was your thinking then?
I remember having this conversation with a student who worked with us in the business, and I was I was obsessed about becoming the old me again. And then he told me something which stuck with me, which was, instead of being focused on becoming the old you, be focused on becoming a better you. And I was like,
Mm,
oh wow. And so everything became about that. Like, okay, what does a better me look like? And then and then there was this other crazy thing. So with all the medical facts, because again, facts are facts, life is life. And with all the way I progressed, the moment I stepped into rehab, which was November the 20th, I told everyone the week on my birthday, I'm out of this. I'm out of this place. And what do we all do? Stop dreaming, be realistic, feet on the ground. Except for one person, my wife, she told me it might be better to not link it to a specific date, but things you did before the accident, and you're gonna need to relearn again. And then we have two options. First option being you let ego do the talking, and you be like, "What are you even saying? And you're supposed to be on my team," and you complain. Or the second option, which is you listen and you act upon. And I've always been that second version. So which I did. The thing I did in the evening was I made a whole list. So I handle social media for the business. So I have to learn CapCut again, all the application, did the book, so Excel, made a whole list, and every moment that I was free, that I didn't have therapy, that there were no visitors, I worked on that list. And so a couple of days later, I posted my first video for the business again on Instagram. And I forgot to delete. I don't. Yeah, you probably know CapCut. You have the logo thing at the end that you're supposed to delete, which I didn't. So I get a call from my wife. She's like, "What on earth did you just do? You just post a video which was shit, and you forgot the logo." And then again, you have two options. First, you let ego do the talking, and you be like, "Yeah, but you don't understand. It's my first video in months." Nah, you complain. Or the second version, you listen and you act upon. And so, me being the second version, a couple of days later, I posted my second video, which was probably still shit, but I deleted the logo. And there where it gets super interesting. The week of my birthday, which is the 25th, so 2.5 months later, I leave that place. While recovery was supposed to take 2 years. That's what the medical team was saying. Yeah, your husband is probably going to recover for 2 years. It took 2.5 months. And it always goes back to that delusional part. You need to be, when you're going for something crazy, and in my case back then it was getting my health back, or being a better me. Could be you're starting your own business, a podcast. You need to be delusional. This is going to be the biggest podcast ever made. Is it going to be? You never know. You never know. But that's what you're aiming for. And then there's a plan. Information is out there. With 2026, 2024, ChatGPT was already there. Google was already there. And I looked up so many crazy things, and then I just acted upon. Wow, I make it sound easy. It wasn't easy.
How amazed was the medical team at your recovery time, right? Because as you said, this is a process that would probably take at least 2 years. So how amazed was the medical team at your recovery rate?
They were how amazed. The thing is, in a certain way, they wanted to keep me there. But they were supportive. They were like, okay, you go. The thing is, again, like, I do not want to talk bad about them, but they weren't following me anymore. So they were also amazed by the fact how quick everything went, and they weren't adapted to that. So at a certain time, like because my week was filled with therapy, and it felt like they were just filling it up to fill it up. It wasn't matched to my situation anymore, which I can understand. Like, they're a business like any others. But it was just, it was not custom made anymore for my situation. So I had to leave.
Yeah. So coming out of your coma and then realizing also just again having to rebuild, having to learn how to walk again. Like I remember August 24th, 2009, I broke my right foot. I broke the fifth metatarsal in my right foot, and I remember, being have a cast put on my foot, and then going through those 6 weeks of having that cast on, being put in a boot, and then when that came off, having to learn how to walk again with my leg now being half the size of what it was before.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was just like, oh man, I had to teach myself at 19 how to walk again. But now you went through something significantly more drastic than what I went through, and you had to teach yourself how to regain those motor skills and to start walking again. So walk us through that, like literally, as to how you were able to start that process of learning how to walk again.
At that moment, as it always is, it was all about entourage. Like, I had people around, medical staff in the hospital. By the way, they were amazing. I have friends, family around me that were not gonna let me settle for less. I was in a bad place. Like, if you ask anyone around me, they will all tell you like Vincent is the most optimistic. He never complains. He's always high energy. Back those first 2 to 3 weeks, I was in a bad place. I wanted to do nothing. Like even walking 5 meters felt like a marathon.
Mhm.
Sitting up straight in my bed was difficult, was tiring. And I was lucky enough to have people around me that weren't afraid to tell me what I had to hear and not what I want to hear. They told me, stop complaining. Ah,
Mhm.
you do not want to walk again? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Train. And I was lucky enough that the accident happened when I was 32. So I had built already a lot of life experience. I had built my support system around me and they were there for me. I could,
Right.
and that's why I always say this was never just my victory. It's ours. They were
Mhm.
there for me. And then it's never a one shoe fits all kind of solution. And then it's your mindset that enters the game too. So it's your mindset connected to your entourage, connected to the tools and everything, and all of a sudden magic happens.
Mhm.
Put like-minded people in the same room, magic happens.
Mhm.
And then it's for everything, by the way, it's hard work. It was hard. And also what was actually the hardest part was two things. Me being always super independent, doing everything by myself. I take care of the solutions. And then I depended on my wife to even go to the toilet. She had to wash me. Can you imagine at 32?
Yeah.
That's tough. And also, and this was already then, but especially later on, not being able to take your role as a man in marriage was tough for me. Like she opened the letters. She took care of finances. She was working because I couldn't work. That was hard for me.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, it's just acceptance and
Yeah.
being convinced again that things will go better.
Yeah.
Not hope, you're convinced. There is no plan B. There literally was, and there is no plan B.
So I want to talk about the support system that you had, because in your book you were talking about, I would say probably within the first two chapters, you were talking about your home life and how, like, even with your mom, you said that things felt structured, but there was like a lack of connection. So in your experience with your family, your wife as well, how important was it for you to infuse your home with that sense of connection, right? Because obviously it obviously paid dividends for you in this experience because your family was there and made you feel like they were there for you. Everyone was connected, and helping you through this process. So, how important was it for you to infuse that experience of connection within the home?
It is everything. What, what you gonna do without connection? Like s- since a very young age, connection for me has been everything. While it lacked a bit at home, I found it in at school,
Mm.
at the on the football team, at work. Connection is everything. What else are we chasing?
Yeah.
And also, what has always been super important to me is I'm there for people,
Uh,
not because I want something in return, because it's just, I consider it the best way to live. Like when they are cleaning the street in front of the restaurant, I will offer a coffee. When a student needs help in their private life, I'm a help. And when you give to the universe, eventually
uh,
you'll get. And that happened in in the moment I needed most. it happened. Like you need, Stefan, you need to know that there were lines outside of ICU.
Hmm.
They couldn't let everybody in because there was so many people wanted to visit me. You have to know that even catering part clients, big businesses wired money to the crowdfunding, like thousands of euros.
Hmm.
So connection is everything. Service to
Yeah.
others is everything.
Wow. No, it totally is. And, I imagine that, during your recovery, um, the physical part of it, like the physical pain and limitations, um, I wonder which was harder. Was it the physical pain, the limitations, or what was happening internally in your mind? Because you spoke about those first couple of weeks where you say you didn't feel like doing anything. So what
Yes.
was harder to experience, that physical pain, or that understanding that now there were some limitations that you had to, work through?
What was hardest? I'm not gonna lie. Both, both sucked for real.
Mhm,
Hated both. But should I pick one? For me personally, was the physical part.
mhm,
Because again, and that's why the subtitle of the book is also how the life you build becomes the life that saves you. Because my mind was you need to know, Stefan, for real, you better be ready when opportunity presents itself. Could be
mhm,
a daughter. You better be ready as a man, as a husband. Could be a dream wife. Could be a crazy job opportunity. You better be ready when opportunity presents itself. And we so often think like opportunity is going to present itself and then we're going to prep quick, 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 quick. Nah. And you need to know that I was more than ready for this opportunity. Going into coma, rehab, and everything that followed, I was ready for that. My mind was ready. It was just another bump in the road, and it was never going to stop me from going to my destination. Never. So my mind was already the physical part was tough because okay, you had done the I had a cast too, so my wrist was broken, my collarbone was broken, my cervicals got fractured. So I was wearing a brace. Part of my skull was missing. I had a gastric tube, which started hurting me a lot. So the physical pain was tough. The mind. By the way, is what helped me. And that's the thing also in the West, like in the East, since forever, they've always known that mind and body goes together.
mhm.
Here in the West, they've been teaching us for so long that both are disconnected, and it's getting more and more out there that both are connected.
Right.
And the mind helped me a lot. The I'm gonna say it like this: thoughts will always influence speech. Speech will always influence behavior. Behavior will always influence life. So I was having conversation with myself like, okay, come on, you can do this. You can do this.
Mm. Yeah, and I wonder as well, like, because I know that mental tenacity doesn't just just spring out from nowhere. Like, there has to be, in my understanding, something, or some experiences prior to that led to you being as mentally strong in those moments. Because there's some people like you that go through this experience and allow their mind is strong enough to push them through, and then there's some people who don't go through anything like this, but mentally they're kind of ready to check out. So what were you tapping into mentally to help yourself through this time? Because I could see how, you know with the recovery time, even though 2 months was quick, just going through something this painful for 2 months could also be very discouraging. So what did you tap into mentally to push you through this time?
See the title in the book. Everything is has always and is always a test to me. Like I'm obsessed literally on a daily basis since as long as I can remember being the best version of myself. So this was literally for me, this was a test. So I was tapping in the fact like, okay, how can we do this better? How can we do that better? How can we improve this? And then you keep on going day after day, day after day. And by the way, I do not want to make it sound easy because it was tough, but it is that simple. When you're chasing something big, beautiful, like the most beautiful views in the whole world come after the toughest climbs, always. Unfortunately. And the thing in 2026 is we got so convinced that life is supposed to be easy and we got so good at lying to ourselves and pretending like, please stop it. Life is by default difficult. And you can either accept it and go for it, or you can complain. But what I can guarantee, and I've realized this when I was young already, I can guarantee you, if you complain all the time and it's always someone else's fault, and then it's the government, and then it's society, and then it's your parents, it's your friends, it's family, one day, Stefan, you're gonna wake up with so much regret you're not ready. And you might think you're the exception on the rule, but guess what? Winning the lottery, the chance of you winning the lottery is 0.0000123%. Going back to you're not the exception on the rule. There's a reason, there's a different word for it. So for me, it was just, accept it. Life shit sometimes.
Yeah. And I love what you shared there is that like I think that we take life for granted because even like the process of walking, like it's easy for those of us who have mobility now, but when we watch children and we watch babies, grow up and walking is something that they have to learn. Crawling is something that they have to learn. But for them, at a certain state of their development, it is tough. So as you say, life is tough, but it's for us to accept it and realize that it's for us to take those moments and to grow through those moments. So I do like that. I think it was really impactful that you shared that life is tough and we do have to accept it and grow from there.
Yeah, 100%. The thing is, and I'm gonna take it back to this. There's one thing that high performing athletes in the whole world share: hockey players, football players, rugby players, tennis players, love for the game. You ask them, why do you do what you do? They will all tell you, what else will I be doing? I love this. Me, I truly, and when I say truly from the bottom of my heart, I love life. I love doing this thing called life. And then there's a second thing they all share. They know losing is part of the game. It was just the World Cup. There's not a single player, and I can guarantee you this, that got eliminated, that lost the final even, and that told himself the day after, okay, I'm done with this. Not a single one. They all know losing is part of the game. And good luck with that. And Morocco that just lost, that was supposed to win African Cup of Nations, lost it, was there a couple of months later and did great again. Do that, huh? For real. I know losing is part of life. You're going to lose, by the way, more often than you win. And you can either, but when you love what you do, and again, I love this thing called life, it does not matter. you'll win. You'll win
Right.
some, you lose some.
I want to talk about the title of your book. It's such an amazing title.
Thank
About
you.
everything feels impossible until it's done, and how you know that life, is that life that saves you. I know that title, I think, originally came from Nelson Mandela, and I know
Yes.
Nelson Mandela. You know, thinking about his experience, being unjustly imprisoned for 27 years, and then coming out of prison to become, South Africa's leader, um, and then becoming one of the most influential figures of, I would say, history. I was going to say the past
Yes.
century, but history in general. And so he's saying that everything feels impossible until it's done. How did you draw on an experience like his, right, where he went through something like that? What about his experience was, influential to you, and it was also helpful to you in this time?
The funny thing is, and you're gonna love this, by the way, it does not even come from, or at least my inspiration doesn't even come from Nelson Mandela. I then
Mm,
afterwards learned that, and I think he phrased it like everything seems impossible. But the inspiration for the book and for the title came from, and we're 2019. So until 2019, it was physically considered impossible to run a marathon under 2 hours. A human body
yeah,
is not able to run a marathon under 2 hours. Comes along Eliud Kipchoge,
mhm,
um, and this wasn't an official marathon. Runs a marathon, runs 42 kilometers, 1 hour, 59 minutes, 40 seconds. A couple of months ago, London Marathon. There's two runners in the same marathon, and we're 2026 right now, that run a marathon
mhm,
under 2 hours.
mm,
You just understand. It always feels impossible until it's done. And there's
yeah,
many examples, by the way, many of them. And that became because again, it was also considered impossible for me to even survive, let alone having this conversation with you today. And so also the key
yeah,
takeaway from everything feels impossible until it's done is asking yourself, why not me?
right.
Instead of why me? Why does this happen to me? Stop it, please.
Well, Vincent, when someone tells you, Vincent, you don't understand, my situation really is impossible. What do you tell them? Because I know there are situations that we get into where we're like, there's no way I'm finding any way out of this. So what do you say to someone that says that my situation is impossible and I have no way out of this?
Try.
Mm,
Just try. It- Just do. Whatever it is, it'll come. And you know what? Worst case, it won't. You're going to let yourself being defeated after not even trying? Please.
mm,
Yeah, but it's not that easy. Ho. I'm not saying it is easy. It is not supposed to be. Give it a try. Do. That's the only thing you can control yourself. Your thoughts, what you say, what you do. All the rest, you cannot control. Look a couple years ago, COVID. Literally,
mm,
things were going great, and then all of a sudden, lockdown. The only thing
mm,
you can control in life is yourself. And the past has taught us enough that results always follow. Whatever you're chasing, more muscles, losing weight, uh, happy marriage, more money, whatever you're chasing, results always follow. If you give to the universe, you'll get. Maybe not today, nor tomorrow, nor next week or next month, but one day you'll get.
yeah. So, you took this experience and, you turned this philosophy into until it's done. Um, when did you realize that what you have learned could become something bigger than your personal recovery? Because I know now you also have the foundation from that. So when did you realize that this could become something bigger than your personal journey?
So when I was still in coma, so many people told my wife, if there's one person that is going to survive this, it's Vincent. And then
Mm.
after me waking up, there was so many people telling me, yo, your mindset is what made such a difference. And then I started asking myself, where does that come from? How come I build a reputation like this? And so
Mhm.
a simple thing I did was I analyzed um simple day out of my life. Like, what do I do differently? And then I was like, wait, I can teach that. Going back to me, that has always been helping people around me, I just filtered everything out. And I was like, okay, let me help people reaching their goals or their dreams. I can do that. I can give you the blueprint. I can even help you. I can hold you accountable. Because for me, that's the ultimate purpose. And I'm not saying this to you right now because to pretend, to be like, yeah, this guy. No, that's truly my mission. I love seeing people win. Really. The world is abundant. Where we might be a bit over 8 billion right now, but there's a lot in the world. You want something? I'll help you to go get it.
Now, with your foundation and the pillars of your until it's done, I know it's built around those five pillars of mindset, health, lifestyle, action, and structure and clarity. Specifically with these pillars, why these five pillars specifically?
Because take one away and life is not going to work out the way you want it to work out. Health, because
Mm.
of course, mental, physical health. Mindset, because there's going to be a story you're going to need to convince yourself of. Lifestyle, because the environments you choose, the friends you choose, the work you choose is going to influence everything else. Action, because it always goes back to the doing part. If you do
Mhm.
not do, forget it. And structure and clarity, because there's a lot of things we don't talk about, like financial management, tools, planning, direction, which are all important. And take one away, you're done. Whatever you're
Mhm.
chasing, it's not going to work. Like there's this thing, and I love this one. Like so many of us do a job that we actually hate, where we're not appreciated by management, our colleagues, our shit, for a paycheck that does not afford the lifestyle we built for ourselves. To then go complain to our friends that are not real, that we don't really like neither, about that same job that we hate. And then we ask ourselves, how come I'm tired all the time? How come I'm sad all the time? How come I'm burned
Mm.
out? Yeah, it's not that difficult. And I just make it look simple because we love to overcomplicate things. Yeah, but life is not that easy. No, I'm not saying that. It is that simple. It's that simple.
So going down those pillars, your second pillar is health. And, for me, when I named this podcast, I choose health. I think that there was a certain point to which prior to this podcast, I had kind of limited health to how you eat and, exercise regimen. And then having going through my own mental health struggles, I started to change my perspective on health and kind of getting back to what you were talking about with the way that in the West, how we kind of have we kind of made this distinction between the mind and the body being separate. And so for me, health really started to become about that, mind being um, put on a solid foundation first, for there to be true health. So for you, after really losing your life, how has your definition of being healthy changed?
You're not gonna like this one. The accident in itself didn't teach me something. It reminded me though of everything. It
Mm,
was almost like the Vincent from before the accident took the Vincent of the accident with him, like, come on, boy, you can do this. You already did it multiple times. And I always knew that it's all connected. Like, it's about your happiness. It's about the stories you tell yourself. It's about your physical
mm,
health. It's about um, your environment, the people you surround with. Everything is health. Everything.
mm,
And it all goes together. Yeah, of course, you need to take care of your nutrition.
mm,
You need to work out. Facts. After 30, we lose 2% of muscle mass, literally. If you do not work out. And then it's yeah, everything else. Like if you and by the way, I love the name of the podcast because it is a choice
mm.
most of the times. I know there's some bad situations out there, but happiness is a choice. You want listen, Stefan, you want negativity? Good news for you. Walk outside your door, you'll have it. You want positivity? Good news. Walk outside your door and you'll have it. It is a choice. And again, I'm not saying it is easy because guess what? Being negative is way easier than being positive.
Mm.
Being healthy is way more difficult than being not healthy.
I want you to dig a little bit deeper into the last pillar. Your final pillar is structure and clarity. How can
Yes, sir.
someone create structure when they're overwhelmed and don't even know where to begin, right? Because I imagine for you, obviously, you had to create a new understanding of structure and clarity after your accident, right? Because the world may have looked one way for you prior to the accident, and then obviously, as we said, there were some limitations. So um, when we're looking at that structure and clarity, um, how do you begin to bring that into place when things are probably, so overwhelming?
Mm. Download Google Agenda, download Microsoft To Do.
Mm,
It's that easy. And then you plan your week and you set your to dos and then you stick to the plan, not your mood.
mm,
It's always progress or emotion. Like we know for a fact that those last reps in the gym are always the most important. It's where your muscles
mm,
tear apart and then they rebuild. But
right,
what do? We said to ourselves, we're going to do 15. And then at 10, we're like, yeah, 10 is going to be fine. Well, you're choosing emotion. And that's with everything in life. You either choose progress or emotion. And
mm,
so, yeah, you just start somewhere. Like choose where you're going. Like you need to have a plan. If you do, if you do not know where you're going, you're gonna get lost.
mm,
And so also with until it's done, like we set a plan, goals for this year. Like we always say, where you want to be in 10 years. Yeah, I don't know. Life is life. Like I have big
mm,
goals, and then you get hit by a car. Okay, I hope not. But
yeah,
life is life. But you know where you're going. We set a plan we set goals for the next year, and we set a direction for the next 5 years. Like you know more or less where you're heading, and then
right.
you reverse it, and then it becomes on a weekly basis. Like okay, we set the planning this week, and it's simple. You have the basic stuff. You have work, working out, free time, which is also super important. And then you block it. Okay, boom. And then you have to-dos. As easy as that. Okay, today I'm gonna, and to-dos can be super basic. Like let's say you need to send a text to your mother because you need to send her a text. Okay, text mother. Okay, I need to answer to my mails. I need to go for grocery. When you're able to tell yourself every day, that's why I also put the most basic stuff in there. When you're able to tell yourself every day, I did everything I had to do and wanted to do, brother, you're living a cool life. Again, that's your mind plays tricks with you.
Mhm.
And the other way around too. Like if you convince your mind, like, okay, you did everything you had to do today, going back to the tools, all of a sudden the mind is like, oh, mine's so nice. I have a good feeling. Let's do that same thing again tomorrow. And you're stacking just small wins after small wins. Because one thing I can guarantee is whatever goal you're reaching, whatever dream you're realizing, you're going to feel good. By default, by the way, any goal, any dream, and it might be different today as it will be in 5 years because goals and dreams change all the time. And I have this lovely exercise, by the way, where I ask people all the time, like, I know we're going to do it right now. Stefan, what would be your favorite destination? You just went to Jamaica. What would be your favorite destination right now to travel to?
Well,
Dream.
right now yeah. I think for me right now would probably be home, which is I haven't been home in a couple of years. This is Barbados, but that would probably be my dream destination right now. And then obviously some others on the list, but I desire to go back home because it's been almost 10 years since I've been home. So I do wanna, I do think it's important to recenter. So
Yes.
I want home is always like a recentering experience for me. So I do want to go back home at some point.
Okay, listen. Next week, all of a sudden, an opportunity presents itself. You find a cheap ticket to go back home. Okay. You're going to need to fly early in the morning. You wake up that day. So it's been 10 years. Oh, I love this. You wake up that day, it's early, so you're tired a bit. You wake up a bit, feeling a bit off. You're a bit sick. Take a cab to the airport. Anyways, flight's canceled. What do you do?
Yeah. I mean, life is difficult, right? So you accept it. You try to figure out another way around it.
Okay. You figure out, okay. It took you did not give me any solution, but you told me the most important, you figure out a way. It took you 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Goals and dreams in life are the same thing. If you want something bad enough, like deep down you really want it, all of a sudden finding solutions becomes easy.
Yeah.
And that it all goes back to the pretending part and the lying to ourselves. But we got so good at that in 2026. Find out where you want to go. Really want to go, not your parents' dream, not your friends' dreams, not your best friend's dreams, not society's dream, your dream. What does Stefan want to really do, reach? And then all of a sudden life becomes easy. That's the plan. And then you have Google Agenda, you have the to-do, you have the to-do, could be any app. Those are my apps. And then you do whatever to reach them.
So, of the 5 pillars, and in your experience with others, which of those 5 pillars do you think that people neglect the most? Which of those pillars people are not really focusing on as much as they should be?
That one, structure and clarity. We all live life on automatic pilot. It's not going to work out. And we all convince ourselves that it might work, it will work out. No. If you do not know where you're going, and then, which is also an important one for structure and clarity, is financial freedom, which is never about how much money you make, but always about how you manage the money you make. going back to the story I just told you, like you're a paycheck that does not afford your lifestyle. Like I encourage people, like we've been taught for so long to adapt our goals and dreams to our current situation. While I encourage people to adapt your current situation toward your goals and dreams. Might be tough decisions from time to time, but again, reach a goal, realize a dream, you're gonna feel good about yourself. Confidence comes from competence, never from compliments.
Mm.
That's a good one, huh?
Yeah.
I know.
That's yeah. So, I wonder, right? Because you still have a very physical reminder of the accident in the scar, right, in your head. Um, as you tell your story, um, how often are you having the experience where people are stopping you and saying, "Hey, what happened?" Right? And then are you using these moments as ways to not only share your story, but also allow people to learn life lessons about moving forward as well, right? Because I understand that, it's for some people they would take that scar as like, man, I wish this wasn't so obvious here, but then you then can repurpose that and say, well, actually, this is a purpose for me. This is a opportunity for me to share my story and to give people purpose and hope.
The thing which is a flaw of me, and I made people believe even more before the accident than right now, that life is, because my way of talking, because my personality, that life is somehow easier for me. Even right now, the accident is it's almost going to be 2 years. Like I know even, and right now the images are there. Like if you go on Instagram, you see Vincent with part of his coma missing. So right now it just adds credibility to whatever I'm preaching, I'm saying. But I know because my way of talking, even in this conversation, like people might hear this conversation and be like, yeah, easier said than done.
Mm.
And that's also why I always say that I'm happy the accident happened, because right now the images are there. It's difficult to say, maybe what Vincent is saying, he might be right. And so, of course, it's not that people stop me in the street all the time asking me about my scar. But yeah, of course, I talk a lot about the accident because the book is also in the restaurant. So every time I'm working, people ask, "Ah, is this your book? Hey, what happened to you? What happened to you?" And so the thing is, okay, I'm my own biggest fan. I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, weirdly enough, I do not um, like to give myself too much credit.
Mm.
So I'm not. I do not have superpowers. I'm not special. I'm not more intelligent than you, than anyone on this planet Earth. I'm not more beautiful. Life is not easier for me. So I will never try to use my situation to then go preach that everything I'm saying is the ultimate truth.
Mm-hmm.
I will always, by the way, even the conversation we're having right now are the conversations I'm having with everyone. That's Vincent to his core. Like he's about helping people, spilling wisdom, giving advice, even if it's not asked for. And so I'll always keep on doing that.
So if you had to, finish this sentence, right? Before my accident, I believed blank. But today I believe blank. So what would you put into those blanks? Before my accident, I believe blank. Today I believe blank.
Oh, I even posted on it. Before my accident, I believed that ambition was about opening more restaurants. After the
Mm.
accident, I believe that ambition is just about being healthy.
What's the next thing in your own life that currently feels, and for you, I don't think it probably feels impossible, but what is there anything in your own life next that feels impossible but you're determined to get it done.
Help us travel the world with my book, with Everything Feels Impossible Until It's Done, and help as much people as I can globally can. Literally feels
Vincent,
impossible.
yeah. Well, Vincent, this story is amazing. And I mean, to me, it's amazing that this has only happened like 2 years ago, and there's been so much progress from, your recovery time to the book. Usually these are stories that people will probably tell like almost 10 years after the event. So the fact that it's progressed so quickly is amazing. And so I'm just so thankful that, you chose our platform to share that story with. And, if people want to work with you and to work with um, the pillars and skills that you're given to everyone that's listening, where can they find you and connect with you?
Easy. Read the book. All the advice you need is already in there, which is now up for pre-order on Amazon. Go to duidclub.com if you want to get in touch with me. And easier and even cheaper, follow me on Instagram, Vincent in the Kitchen. All the advice, everything I'm preaching is on there.
Well, Vince, again, this was amazing, and we're really thankful for your time. And for our audience, this is Stefan again, just reminding you that choosing health is really about choosing power, possibility, and purpose. And be sure to subscribe to us so that you'll be updated every time we put out a video. Also, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as on Progressive Radio Network. So again, thank you again for tuning in, and looking forward to being with you next time.